uh, conduct this important seminar. And I am supposed to talk about that how the PhD students they can graduate on time. What could be the strategies for their success to finish their degrees well in time? So he has introduced me already, so I will not take my time. I have put my LinkedIn profile and Facebook profile where you can follow me for further updates. I will have listed like 10 rules. Mainly my presentation is for PhD students, but there are few MS students I know, so they can also relate all these informations because they are more or less same. Like rule one is that what is PhD? How we can define a PhD? In my honest opinion, PhD is not a degree title. You can call yourself doctor after graduation, but still the real dimensions of a PhD is a skill set. And you have like broadly these skills. They start with like research skills, then comes writing, presentation, and managerial skills. If you further dig out these skills, uh, for research skills, I mean that you need to know that how to conduct a literature review, and then how to find a good research problem, and then you have to design your experiments, you need to execute your experiments, and finally you have to conduct the data analysis along the results you have obtained, whether to find that where your hypothesis is valid or invalid. So these are like research skills, and mostly during PhD all of us are the same. Once we have all the data, when we think that our hypothesis is, say, valid, then we have to write down few research papers as a requirement of PhD. And research writing is like, it's a technical thing. You know, it is quite different from general writing, whether you are writing down some application or an email. But in case of scientific writing, you need certain skills that you need to be very precise, concise, and you need to explain what you have done, and you need to make the reader understanding what is your main point, main idea. So you need to be very clear about writing skills. And then comes presentation skills. And in case of presentation skills, you know that being a PhD student, we need to present our research before certain audience in the form of, say, pre-proposal defense or thesis defense. And your supervisor may ask you to present your research at certain conferences and where you have to face so many people. So presentation skills, they involve like how you will put all the information in the form of PPT, and then how you have to deliver your presentations, and finally how you have to take up question answer session. So these skills are very critical, and I think that presentation skills are more critical than other skills because you have only few minutes to create your impression, or you have to break your impression. So they are very critical. And finally, there are managerial skills. And in case of managerial skills, you have to manage your time, you have to manage your resources. Sometimes you have to manage the finances of lab, like human resource management, because you work with the lab mates, you work with your supervisor, so you need to know that how you have to manage the human working around you. So in nutshell, these four skills, you learn them if you plan it, or even if you do not plan all these skills. You intend to learn these skills or unintentionally you learn these skills. By the end of your PhD, you will have to have certain level in these set of skills. So if you want to learn them unplanned, I would not go for that. If you plan all these skills, you audit yourself that where you are now, and then you gradually improve these skills. I think it will reduce a lot of your stress and will like give you an opportunity to finish your PhD on time. Then comes rule two. And I would say that first thing is, being a PhD student, you must own your PhD with a responsibility.
If the slide is not on this side,
Excuse me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
Yes, we can hear
Prof,
you, doctor.
same here.
the slide is not changed. It's still on rule number 1 and it's not in the full view.
No.
I, if you are using second screen, I think it's shown on the other screen because we are still at rule 1 and slide 2.
No, it is not rule 2 now.
I think it is due to the second screen. It looked like it's in full view, but we are just seeing only one slide. Now it's changed, yes. When you make it full screen, so
Can you see the now the rule 2?
still, but it's the present, not the presenter view. It's the full view of PowerPoint.
Now?
It's the
Then-
same.
Now you can see the rule 2?
Yes, we can
Yes,
see.
rule 2.
I think we can go with that.
Yes, sure. You can just reduce the size of the small slide, so it will be a little bit bigger. It's okay, Prof. It's okay.
Okay. Okay. So, being a PhD student, the first thing is you need to own it, and you need to own it with the responsibility. I know many students, they come that and they always asking for help from their supervisor, and they have like a sense that it is the responsibility of the supervisor to complete their PhD degree. I think if you are such PhD student, it will not work, and it will take a lot of time for you to finish your PhD, because your supervisor is just your coach. He can guide you, and he can take you through the process, but it is you who has to finally defend the PhD thesis. So if you take the responsibility from day one, I think then the things will get easier. I will explain how you can do that. The next thing is that never expect spoon feeding from your supervisor. And I would suggest, even your supervisor is helping, still you need to learn the things, the skills at your own. Because if you are habitual of spoon feeding, it might happen that your supervisor may leave the university, or there could be another problem. Then I think that the things will not be easy for you. The final thing is that there are certain skills in during your PhD. I have mentioned four, but there are certain other skills which I call like technical skills, and all the technical skills will vary from one student to another student in the lab, from say from one department to another department. Because, for example, if there is a chemical engineering PhD student, he has a different project. If you have like a civil engineering PhD student, he has different project. So in the core of your PhD project, there are certain technical skills you have to learn. For example, if you are working in material science area, you need to know what is TEM, what is SEM, what is XRD, that how they are operated and how you have to interpret the data. In that case, if you don't learn these skills in time, so remember, you have to spend a lot of time just interpreting those data points and making your data meaningful. So there are certain lab skills. Now you need to figure out all those lab skills which are critical in your PhD project. Then maybe if you are working on some software engineering or software thing, your supervisor might ask you to do some, say, quality analysis. If you are not good at it, you need to learn it immediately, some data analysis tools, and then again some writing and presentation skills. So You need to figure out all those technical skills in your PhD project, which may linger on your PhD. And then you need to know your own level, where you stand. And if you need certain improvement, I would say that go for the improvement. And for improvement, you have several resources. I think YouTube, there are several lectures available on YouTube. There are several free resources where you can like learn these skills. So you do not need to like wait for the go ahead signal from your supervisor. You can do it at your own. And as much as skillful you are, I think that will reduce your stress and you will finish your PhD on time. The final thing is that luck only favors prepared minds. Again, this is the concept of responsibility. You need to take the responsibility of your PhD first, and then you can expect anything from your supervisor. Then comes that this is a very non-technical part of your PhD, but you will see that how it can impact your PhD to finish if you want to finish it on time. You need to know the requirements of the program. Every university, every department, they have set certain requirements for their graduating students. For example, maybe in your university you have to complete certain credit hours, and those credit hours will include like credit hours for coursework, a plus credit hours for research. Again, it may vary from your department to department, from faculty to faculty, and from say university to university. So in summary, you need to know that how many total credit hours you have to study, like you have to finish, and then you need to figure out that are there any like compulsory subjects you have to do. In some universities they have clearly defined compulsory subjects like scientific writing, communication skills, and there could be some technical subjects depending on the program. Again, there are certain number of major subjects and minor subjects. So you need to figure out in your case that what are the requirements. Then there are some non-credit requirements. In certain universities, they say that like you have to attend certain number of seminars, seminar one or two, and there could be some lab safety programs, courses. So you need to finish, especially those people who have to work in the labs like chemical engineering or some like biological engineering. They have to pass the lab safety test. So just know from the student graduate handbook that whether there is certain requirements, because I know my friend that who has not done this lab safety course, and when he went for submitting his PhD thesis, the graduate office asked him to finish that course, and for only that course he has to extend his PhD for another semester. So I think that these non-technical things, they cost a lot. Final thing is that you need to know the credit transfer policy for your university or department, whether there is an option that if you have done master from the same department or university, so do your university allow you to transfer certain credits? If that is the case and your supervisor is agreed with you, I think that you can go for this credit transfer. It can reduce your load and you can focus on your like a PhD research. Similarly, you need to know the thesis credits. For example, in our case, it was like 30 credit hours, but you have to enroll for these thesis credits each semester. And like you can go beyond 30 in our case. I don't know what are your requirements. Then comes like research publication requirements. So each department, they they require certain number of research publications. Mostly universities, they require like one published research paper. And in some cases, it may be higher. So you need to check your university requirements. Some departments, they also limit the option of journals that where you will publish. This condition will come from your department, from your university, but sometimes this requirement comes from your supervisor. So you need to stick to that. For example, if you want to publish your research in another journal and your supervisor is willing or is asking to publish your paper in a particular journal, I think that could take more time if you are not clear. Certain universities, they have the limit on the number of authors. Some universities, they say that like a PhD student could be the first author and his supervisor should be the second author, only two authors. But in some cases, the universities, they restrict, say, the total number of authors like five. So just imagine that if you don't know this condition in advance and you have published your research papers in really good journals, but say your number of authors are six. So by the end, when you will be submitting your thesis, probably your department or graduate office will not allow you because they will not rate it as the preliminary requirement. So you need to spend more time. The final thing is that research publications, like how much time it takes and by when time, like by what time you have to show them the publication. In some departments, they ask a published research paper before final thesis defense. But some departments, they allow you that, okay, when you will be submitting your thesis after defense to the graduate office, you can give them the publication that I have done that. So all these requirements you have to note before, because they are non-technical, but they will delay your PhD by one semester or two semesters for nothing. Then comes like the thesis defense requirements. When you are eligible to go for your research proposal defense or research proposal, and the next thing you need to know that what could be the composition of your supervisory committee, how many professors you can take, like you can include from your own department, and how many supervisors you can add from, say, other departments or anything around your supervisory committee. You need to know it, and you need to decide your supervisory committee in consultation with your supervisor, because otherwise sometimes you may add someone who is not likely to be in supervisory committee according to your supervisor's choice. So you need to know that. Again, finally, pre and final defense conditions, requirements you need to know, so that before pre-defense, if you are supposed to publish a research paper, so you need to do that. Otherwise, they will not allow you. So you need to know all these conditions or requirements beforehand, as early as possible. Similarly, in case of thesis, each department, they give you a particular structure of the thesis. I know in Europe, you can just, you need to only write down the introduction and conclusion. And right in the middle, you can put all your published research papers. But in certain universities, like in Pakistan, we don't follow this procedure. We ask that thesis should be like introduction and then literature review, some material methods, and then results and discussion, like same research paper structure. You also need to know the reference style, that citation style. It also varies from department to department. The reference style of chemistry department will not match the computer science department. So you need to know that. And this is also very critical, that if you don't follow the conditions, you don't comply with them, it may linger on your graduation. You also need to know the plagiarism policy of your department and university, and also the submission requirements. Submission means that when you are going to submit your final copy of the thesis, they also require certain forms and disclosures. For example, if you think that your work is highly intellectual and it can you have applied for certain patents, so then probably you need to sign a form that your thesis should not be disclosed for certain period of time, say 1 year or 2 years. So if you know in advance, then you can plan all your journey in a good way. So in this case, my suggestion is that being a PhD student, you should always consult your graduate student handbook, and you need to note down all the conditions I have mentioned. Probably you may have some more or a little bit less than the conditions I have mentioned, and you need to write it down on a paper. Like I would say that you should have a diary with you, and in that diary you need all to note down all the requirements. And like if you can put some certain deadlines along each assignment, so it will be easy that you can construct the whole requirements of your PhD program. Then comes rule 4. And in case of rule 4, I would suggest you to make a PhD calendar. And that calendar must start from the finishing line, like when you will be submitting your PhD thesis to the graduate office. And then you need to trace it down to the starting point. And in that case, I think the things you need to know, the course registration, like credit hour registration for each semester, because during like first and second semester, you are supposed to enroll some coursework in some universities, and but later on you have to enroll your research credits or thesis credits. Okay. Similarly, you need to know when is your midterm exam or final term exam, or what is the exam policy. So you also need to know probable proposal defense date. Similarly, you need to highlight pre-defense and possible final defense deadlines, and what could be like thesis submission date. In certain universities, by the start of each semester, they announce the deadline for thesis submission, and they also announce that you need to provide certain other forms and formats along with your thesis. So if you know all these tasks and also assign the deadlines against each task for each semester and for the complete PhD calendar, I think all these informations, they will go in your brain and probably will be part of your subconscious. Now you are doing your PhD, you are doing your experiments, but I assure you that this information in your subconscious will always remind you that what are upcoming tasks and how I need to, like, you need to go through those tasks and to meet those deadlines. So these planning maps will help you to graduate like on time. Then comes the critical part. I call it critical because you have to work with your supervisor, and supervisor is a tricky person who can actually who can help you to graduate on time. At the same time, he is the person who can delay your PhD. Uh, uh, so you need to work on your supervisor quite well. The first and foremost thing is that you need to know the expectations of your supervisor. And expectations, I mean that what kind of research output he wants or he requires from you. That means that if your supervisor is quite senior and he's already publishing in quality journals, probably he will expect the same, that you will publish quality research papers in quality journals. So once you know his expectation, then you need to design your PhD accordingly. The next thing is you need to know his dislikes or dislikings. Because if you do the same which he dislikes the most, I think the relationship between you and your supervisor will not be good. And if your relationship is not good, I think you need to pay the price, because this disliking is not good, and you will not get the right feedback from your supervisor. And as I mentioned earlier, supervisor is a coach, so he will tell you and he will guide you that how you can pass through the whole PhD journey. So in my opinion, you need to follow your supervisor. You need to try to meet his expectations. At the same time, you need to avoid his dislikings. And his dislikings, you need to figure it out. Like if he wants you to be like on time in the lab, I think you need to be on time in the lab. And if he wants you to focus on certain project, then probably you need to focus on that particular project, because he sometimes he knows more than you about the deadlines and about some other fundings, and those fundings, they actually help you uh, like uh, to run the lab, to maintain the inventory, and to run the lab equipment and chemicals, all stuff. Then comes a critical part that how you need to communicate with your supervisor. I think that being a PhD student, you must decide it at early stage that whether like you can knock at the door of your supervisor's room or you have to send him a message through mobile phone, some WhatsApp or any other app, or you have to send him an email. So if you decide it early, I think that clarity will help you to get right feedback within time from your supervisor. Similarly, you need to decide the frequency of meeting because each meeting it will have a different content. You will do some research and then you will generate some data, and then both of you have to sit together and to discuss that whether you are going on track, whether the experiment is going in the same way, or you need some improvement. So in that case it is better that you decide earlier that whether you will meet in a week, once in a week, or bi-weekly, or once in a month. So it all depends on you and your supervisor. But whenever you go for a meeting with your supervisor, I think it should be logical, and it will help you at the end. I would say that you should have a piece of paper with agenda points, and those agenda points must include that what you have decided in the last meeting. If he has suggested you to do an experiment, so you need to write it down that what were the decisions of last meeting, and then comes the section that what you have done in between between the last meeting and the current meeting, and then what are the decisions in this meeting, and when next meeting is possible. uh, why this is necessary? I think sometimes, the supervisors, they are super busy in managing different projects, and they have some teaching assignments, some say managerial assignments. So sometimes there is a likelihood that you decide something verbally, but later on, maybe your supervisor, just being busy, he forgets that point. And later on, when you when you present those results, there could be a situation that he may say that when we have decided all this. So if you have some written evidence, so I think that that can avoid some bad situation with your supervisor. So in nutshell, as much as you know your supervisor, his personality, his expectations, his dislikings, and then you manage yourself along the expectations of your supervisor, then he can help you a lot to finish your PhD in time. And if you have some bad relationship or your supervisor is not aligned with you, then the things will start getting delayed, and uh, definitely your PhD will also delay on the same pace. What you need to do with your supervisor, that how you need to work with your supervisor, there are some don'ts and some do's. So you don't need to be lazy at all, rather you need to work hard, because PhD is something where you need to really work hard in order to finish your PhD within time. And spoon feeding is not good. Rather, you need to be proactive. You need to read literature. You need to read, say, latest papers. And then in the next meeting, you need to brief your supervisor that, okay, I have read this research paper and this is very interesting, and we can modify our running experiment in this way. So this will give him a pleasant feeling. Like pleasant in a sense that then he will start liking you, that my student is he can rely on himself, he can take initiatives and good initiatives which are aligned with the lab goals and with my goals. Okay. Don't need to always bring the problems. For example, if some lab equipment is not working properly or is broken down, so if you just report that the equipment is broken down, the supervisors, they do a lot of things. So this negative thing will can fire back. So in that case, I would say that you should, if you report, you should also report with some solutions, some that how we can handle the situation. I would say that if some equipment has broken down, So you need to try you need to report to the lab captain, who is usually a senior student in your lab, and then see that whether you can call the company person to come in and to fix the problem or anything else. So if you report to your supervisor that this problem has emerged, but we have tried to settle it down in that way, I think that would be better. So with the time, you will start earning the confidence of your supervisor. Sometimes supervisors are really good and they get frank with the PhD students, but this may cause like a critical situation where you say you forward a funny joke or to your supervisor, say through like a common group or blah blah blah. I think you need to be careful. So I am not suggesting that you should forward such funny messages or some jokes to your supervisor. Rather, it is better if you send some opportunities, like if there is any funding call there or some other opportunity good for lab. If you share such opportunities, I think that is better for your personality, and that will build the confidence of your personality, like before your supervisor. Or if you go for a lab meeting where you see that the environment is good, so then you can like say anything to your supervisor, like funny. Or, but again, I would say that you need to put a restraint. Never misinform your supervisor. If there is something went wrong, I think better to report him, so he should know what is the exact situation, and then because he is experienced, he is the leader, so he can like plan his own way that how he can handle that like a mishap or crisis. So you never ever, even if your experiment is not going well, I think you need to report it properly, and then maybe he can give you another advice that how you can do it in a better way. Don't skip plans, because this is not good being a PhD student. Rather, you need to stick to the timelines, the deadlines. And again, I have mentioned that maybe you can have a PhD calendar. At the same time, you may have some semester calendar, and all those activities mentioned in the semester calendar, they should appear with the deadlines. And if you meet all those deadlines, I think you can save a lot of time. You need to educate your professor, because you are working on your own project, and this project is a PhD project, and it must be innovative. It must have some novelty. So your supervisor, he is actually supervising say 5, 10 students, so he is not the expert of your project. Actually, you should be the expert of your project, and that you can do by reading a lot of literature, good literature around your topic. And once you read such a good research paper, I think you should tell your professor, like if you have highlighted the certain important text, and that is the one way that how you can educate your professor. And what I mean, don't be over smart. Sometimes, while going through the literature, you see that you are working on project A, but there is a side track, say A bar, okay? And you feel that A bar is really interesting and it can give you good results. You try it in the lab, and for the proof of concept, you find it successful. So, even if you want to work on such side tracks, I think you must let your professor or supervisor know that what are you doing. Because if suddenly you come up with the results, even though the results are good, I think your supervisor will not be expecting all that. Sometimes he wants you to finish your project A because that project A is part of the funding project, and your supervisor is supposed to submit the final report of that project. So he is continuously thinking that when you will finish your project A and he can submit to the funding agency. If you go other way, although it is very interesting and results are very promising, but you may face some like some sort of not good response. Final thing is really tricky, very tricky, and you need to put a very good restraint. Sometimes if your supervisor is of opposite gender, so you don't need to be in a relationship with him or her. It can it can damage your career. At the same time, it can damage the career of your supervisor. And I know certain examples in different universities, international universities. So you need to be very careful while dealing with such stuff. Rather, I would say that supervisor is guide, is your teacher. So you need to have a deep respect for him, and you need to follow him in the proper way. Now, the next one is rule 7, that how you need to do your research. In that case, my first suggestion is that if you choose your research topic wisely, then you can save a lot of your time and energy. Some topics, they are really good, but they can take a lot of time, and maybe you cannot afford that much time. Or if you do not plan your research project in a wise way, like you have a big project, and then you have to slice it down in sub projects, like sub project A, sub project B, sub project C. But sometimes during research, we all know that there is no straight way from point A to point B. We start from point A, but meanwhile, while doing research, we suddenly come up with a situation that B point direction B dash is very interesting. So if you are always focused on side tracks, probably you will not be able to finish your project in time and ultimately your PhD. So in my opinion, that you should have all the ingredients of a research topic. It should be novel, innovative, and it should create some intellect, and it should advance the knowledge. But at the same time, it must be doable within the defined time limit. If you are a scholarship student, you have some funding limitation. If you are funded by your supervisor, again, you could have some funding limitations. So in that case, I would say that just focus on your project, and all the interesting side tracks which you find meanwhile, if you cannot work on them during your PhD, you should leave them for your postdoc or some, and you will be supervisor yourself. You can try all those concepts. For literature review, it's a very big topic. I cannot accommodate it in 1 hour. So I have only one suggestion for you, that always remember garbage in is equal to garbage out. If you do not read the quality research papers or quality papers while doing literature review, you cannot get the quality ideas. So, what is the definition of quality ideas or quality research papers? I think you need to look at the papers of your lab, like where your lab is already publishing their research papers. I think that your supervisor and your seniors, they have already identified that which journals to focus, and they feel that these journals are quality journals. So in my opinion, you need to read research papers or review papers from those journals where already your lab has published several papers. Another thing is, being a PhD student, you must know the top 5% journals of your own area. For example, if you are doing research in computer science, you must know that, like, what are the top tier journals in computer science. And then you need to, in my opinion, you need to read the papers published in those journals, because quality journals publish quality papers, and if you read quality papers, you will get quality new ideas to work on. So my opinion is that always stick to quality journals, because if you focus on all low tier journals, you have like so many papers, but I don't think so that you can get good workable ideas from those mediocre journals. So that's something where you need to sit with your supervisor or your senior lab mates and get their help that which journals to focus for literature review. There are so many apps like AI apps which help you to find relevant literature, but still I doubt because they will give you like a very high number of research papers. And these days, you know that how many research papers are being published each day. I think that they will distract you. And if you are distracted, again, it's just one sign that you are wasting your time. Then comes an idea bank. I think that you must have a small diary with you, or you can have a folder named idea bank. Whenever you read a paper and you find something, a new line, a new direction, a new concept, and you think that that can be investigated, it is really good idea. So if you need to immediately note it down in your diary with some keywords, that whenever you get back to your diary, you can immediately get the point that okay, what it exactly says. And if you have like idea bank in the form of a folder in your computer, then in that big idea bank folder you must have some subfolders, and for each idea you have like a you should name the folder on that idea, and then you need to put the primary paper from where you got the idea. And in if I am at your position, I will immediately search some 3 4 5 papers along that idea, so that whenever I come back to that folder, I can have like 3 to 5 papers to read and to refine the idea. And then if I want to do a further literature review, I can do that. But idea is just an idea, starting point. So this idea bank can help you all through your career. It's not stick to the PhD, because certain ideas during PhD you will not be able to finish in that PhD time. So you can leave those ideas to be investigated during maybe your postdoc, or even when you will become a faculty member and will have your own research group. So you can try all those ideas by that time. In case of doing research, you always need to focus on the bigger picture. Like if your research problem or research topic is, say, ultra fast computing, so all this is ultra fast computing is the topic, and then you will slice this topic in small projects: project A, project B, project T. But when you are working on the slice like small projects under that big project, you should not lose the focus that what exactly the problem you are solving. That means that when you finish project A, you should be closer to that to the topic that how ultra fast computing will work. And then when you finish project B, you should be much closer. C, you should be maybe to that point that how ultra fast computing would be. So big picture means that if you are doing the small project out of your PhD project, you should not lose the focus. And that if you have this mindset, big picture mindset, you know that when during PhD, our subconscious and brain, it operates in a very different way. If, whether you are having a jogging or you are like a morning walk, so your subconscious is operating, and if it is always focused on big picture, it will give you very novel ideas, irrespective of what time, what space, or what place you are at. So this big picture will help you to refine your research, and ultimately, if you are clear about your research and about your big problem, so then you will be on time to finish your PhD. The final thing is publish in routine. Again, how to publish a research paper is a very big topic. I cannot conclude it like in say few minutes. But what I mean publish in routine is, if you have big PhD project, then you have small projects: project A, project B, project C. If you have finished your project A and you think that the results you have obtained are publishable, I would say do not start project B. I would suggest you that sit down like for 1 week or 2 week or 3 week and write down your research paper, complete research paper, and then submit it to some journal, whatever journal you want. Okay, once you have submitted your research to some journal, then I will ask you to go to the lab for your project B, for your next project. How it will be helpful for you? You know, we are not like native English speakers, and again, we are being a PhD students, we have an idea, we think that it is innovative and novel, but someone else has to ratify it whether our feeling and our findings are something worth consideration. And that you can only do by publishing your research paper, the one thing. And when you submit it, the reviewers will review your idea. They will say find certain weaknesses, or they can suggest you that how you can improve it. So at the same, it can improve your PhD project. At the same time, it may give you another direction to work on, say another idea. And third thing is that your writing, it can be improved, because the reviewers, they will go through your scientific writing, and they will check it in all possible ways whether you are able to communicate and explain the science you have done in your experiment to the general public. So it will reduce a lot of stress from you. Now if you have a published paper, so now you have the confidence that your idea is good, it has been accepted by the reviewers. And second thing is that your writing skills have been approved by some foreigners. So when you have certain number of research papers meanwhile in your PhD, so at the end, when you will be trying to write down your PhD thesis, it would not be difficult for you, and it will not take that much time. Another thing why I emphasize that you should publish in a routine, because you know thousands and hundreds of people, millions of people, they are working on different research topics. And whatever idea you have, I think there could be tens of people who are thinking in the same way. We cannot restrict someone that it is my idea, you cannot think. Okay, the people in China, people in Europe, people in US, they are also maybe thinking on the same line. Again, if it is ultra fast computing, so ultra fast computing is not limited to UTM, everybody can think of it. So if you have solved the problem and you do not publish it, maybe some other person who has also come up with the same conclusion what you have done in your lab, and he publishes it in some, say, good journal, so then nobody will respect or give due value to your idea. They will always say that someone has already solved this problem. So to avoid that situation, I think that PhD students, they should publish their research as soon as possible. They get an opportunity. Now, the rule 8 is about time management. And for time management, I think that we don't have a similar kind of productive behavior. It varies from person to person. Maybe I'm productive in the morning, but some people, some friend, they feel they are productive at night when everything is peaceful. Okay, so you need to find your own productive niche, and then you need to assign your you need to work on your project research, and say if you want to read paper, blah blah blah, you need to define your own way that when you are productive, you need to do the productive work. And when you see that there is some disturbance or noise around, so you don't need to you can like prioritize your assignments. For example, if you are reading some paper and you want complete silence, I think you need to do it at night. If you are creating new ideas, maybe morning is very good. If you are running some experiments, you need to find that when you are productive, or you can find some time in the lab. Okay, then comes game plan. like any other game, PhD and career is also a game, and you can only win if you have a complete game plan. I have mentioned all the things, like you should have a PhD calendar, you should know the PhD your requirements of your department, of your university, and then you know general requirements of research and some presentation skills, writing skills. So you should have a complete game plan. Okay, and then and that game plan should not be rigid. Okay, to have a plan is good, to have a flexible plan is really good, because with the time maybe the shape of your research problem would not be same maybe by the end of your PhD, because a lot of new literature is coming up and it may change. Okay, so if you are not flexible, if you will face the problem. If you are not planning it well, you will have some problem, because then there is a possibility you can go in various directions and finally you could not be able to sum up your PhD. So in that case, I would say that a clear but flexible game plan can help you a lot to finish your PhD on time. There is another important thing. I think you can judge your activities on this importance versus urgent metrics. On the x-axis, you can see the urgent thing, and on y-axis, you can see the importance. Okay, in four quadrants. In the first, you want to watch a movie. This is neither urgent, neither important. And then you need to pick up some samples from autoclave. This is urgent because if you do not do it on time, your samples will get wasted and your experiment can get delayed. This is urgent, but I don't think that it is important, because important is the final outcome of your project. So it's just the middle step, so it's not that important, but still it is very urgent. But to prepare a conference presentation, because your supervisor wants you to present your research because it is really good at some important or like a key conference. So this is urgent and this is important. Urgent in a sense that your the deadline is closer, and important in a sense that you are going to get a like a space where you can present your research, you can explain it to the key people, and maybe your postdoc supervisor or your future employer is also sitting in the audience, and he accepts your explanation, he accepts your research, and he may offer you another position. So this is urgent as well as important. To win a Nobel Prize is neither urgent, is not an urgent thing, but it is really important. It doesn't matter that you win a Nobel Prize today or say 10, 15 years later. In any case, you will be called a Nobel laureate. So you need to know that how you will address this goal. So whenever you have something, some tasks to do, I think you need to measure it on this urgent versus important metrics. And then you need to decide how to prioritize your assignments and your tasks. Okay. And other thing is that you need to focus on prerequisites. And this prerequisite is for everything. If you are going for a conference, you need to know the prerequisite. If you are doing some research, you need to know the prerequisites, because uh, if you want to start a new experiment the next morning, and there is one reagent A which should be added to your samples. Say you need 100 ml of that reagent, and when you appear the next morning, you see you notice that the reagent A, which is commonly used by all the lab mates, is only 90 ml available in the bottle, and you need 100 ml. So you are not able to start your experiment. Actually, this is the prerequisite of your experiment. And when you go to the procedure that how you can prepare that reagent A, you see that there is a salt which should be oven dried for 24 hours. Okay, now your experiment has been delayed for another 24 hours just because you didn't notice that you need the reagent A and how much volume of that region A was available. Okay. Uh, Time delay is one thing, but demotivation is another thing, because you were all set to start a new experiment, but now you suddenly realize that the reagent is not up to the mark and you have to wait for another 24 hours. But if you have checked that bottle before leaving your lab last night, and if you notice that it is 90 ml and you need 100 ml, probably the least you can do, you could do, you can put the salt in the oven and switch on the oven, so that at least you can save 12 hours. Okay, so that I mean how you need to focus on prerequisites. All the things, they have the prerequisites, and you need to meet all the prerequisites beforehand. Otherwise they will start delaying your tasks, experiments, and then experiments will delay your results will delay your research papers, and that's it. So that is the one way that how you can save your time and you can finish your PhD on time. Then you have heard about multitasking. Some people like multitasking, but frankly speaking, I don't like multitasking, because in case of multitasking, I lose my focus. As I have explained you that if you have done your research, like you have finished a part of your PhD project, then I would not suggest you to start B part of your project. I would say that sit down in your office and now start writing your research paper. And you know, research paper is again, it's a big assignment. So, like if it takes 1 week, 2 week, or 3 weeks, it's okay. I will not mind that my student is sitting in his office and he is working on research paper. Because if you keep on working project B and at the same time you are writing your research paper for project A, I think both tasks will take too much time. Maybe another semester, another 6 months, you will be able to finish project B, but still you have not published your research paper out of your project A. So I don't like multitasking, but again, it varies from person to person, from from your supervisor. So if you can do it, you can do it. But in my opinion, you need to improve your focus on the tasks. That will save your time. The last thing, in my opinion, is besides all, you need to manage yourself. Because again, the main hero of your PhD is you yourself. So in that case, focus on your health. And that doesn't include only your physical health, that also includes your mental health. And if you have read some nature or science reports, you will feel that there are so many psychological issues appearing with the PhD students because of the stress, demotivation, or their experiments are not working out. These things appear. So in my opinion, that you need to focus on your health, physical health. Healthy body will give you a healthy brain, and for that health you need to have 30 minutes to 1 hour exercise daily. It may include anything, whatever you like. You like swimming, you like a walk, you like a gym, whatever. It will actually reboot your brain, because you know the research is not a fancy thing. It's very boring, because if you are sitting in front of your computer screen writing down some code, it may take, I don't know how much, how long. And if you are writing the code again and again and it is not working, you will get disappointed, and that disappointment will shatter your brain. So you need to skip for some time, and that is that where you can walk, you can rethink, you can reboot yourself, and you can exercise. Again, you can put your health in the context. Another thing is, if you keep on sitting, if you are in the lab and absorbing the fumes, I think that your health will deteriorate. What if you have done really good research and you have published really good research papers, but by the time you are going for the defense, your health is not good, you are sick, you get hospitalized, again it can delay your PhD. So you need to create the balance. In that case, you can bring that balance with the proper leisure time. You need to enjoy your life because PhD is just a part of your life. And if you do not keep the balance, if you just focus on the research and the lab, probably you can lose something. At least focus and energy is something that can be lost at the rate of extra busyness in the lab. But if you give proper time to your health and enjoyment, I think you will be more creative, and you will be like you will start enjoying your lab and your life. So this balance is really important. Some people, while doing PhD, they are very enthusiastic, very motivated that they will do this research and they will publish in Nature and Science. They do that, but at the rate of their health and their life. Okay, so you need to have good balance. I think you can get advice from your supervisor that how he has managed all these pressures. Then another important thing is that you don't need to compare yourself, your performance with your friend, because the science in different fields is different. A person who is doing some biological research along gene manipulation or genetics, he may take, maybe he can run his experiment for 1 year or more than 1 year and he will not get the result. And on the other side, if there is a chemical engineer who is trying to synthesize a new material, he can do that maybe like 1 week. So do not compare your performance that, okay, my friend in another department, in another lab has published these many research papers and mine, I am not doing something. You cannot compare the departments, you cannot compare the research. Everybody his own role, his own expectations, and his own standing in the field. If you ultra compare, I think I think you will lose the energy, and it can demotivate you. The main problem of the PhD is stress and demotivation, because PhD is a boring thing. In during first year, you will be highly motivated. By the second year, or by the end of second year, your motivation will be really down. So you need to keep yourself motivated with little bit perks and privileges, some incentives, some other things. And one way that why you feel demotivated is when you start comparing your performance with some other guy who has a different field. Like material science people, they really publish in high impact factor journals. But civil engineers, their the impact factor of their journals, I don't think so. It should be higher. It should be more than 5. But in case of nature biotechnology or nature energy, it is like more than 50. So you cannot compare yourself in that way. Then comes another definition or defining thing, a rate limiting thing, that how you can, whether you can graduate on time or not. Excellence takes time. If you want to publish your research in Nature or Science or Cell or similar journals, I think it will take a lot of time. So it depends that what is your goal. Like if your goal is that after finishing PhD in UTM, you will be going for a postdoc in UCL, UC Berkeley, or UC San Diego, I think you need to do a really excellent work. If you are planning for Marie Curie, you cannot go with ordinary papers. You need to do some excellent research, and for excellence, it takes time. So you need to invest a lot of time that to produce excellent research papers, and those excellent papers will give you an excellent career. So these, if you want ordinary research, or if you are okay with that, okay, I am okay with the three research papers in average journals, then it's okay. You can like quickly go through the process. But again, if your focus is excellence, then it will take some time. The final thing is that you need to read broadly. In that case, my opinion is that I usually read BBC. I usually read DW Science, BBC Science, CNN Science, some international relations, some politics, that what is happening around me. You know that most of the innovation, our intellect has come from science fiction. That has nothing to do with lab research or actual research, what PhDs are doing in their labs or on their computers. It's just someone's imagination that there should be a helicopter, and he just wrote that machine in some novel, and that's it. Then scientists or engineers, they start thinking, is it possible we should have a machine is hanging in the air or being operated with a fan? That's it. So if you read broadly, it will open up your brain. Okay, PhD doesn't mean micro specialists. PhD means intellectuals who can create an intellect, who can create knowledge. So, to bring the knowledge, you need to read different aspects, even different science. And if you look at the present science is not like a very micro thing. There are the new thing is like interdisciplinary science, where computer scientists, they are working with the medical doctors and electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, material engineers, and then they come up with this CT scan type of thing or biomedical appliances type of things, because the basics is biology, and then comes electrical engineers who think that how the signals should be designed, computer scientists that how computer should analyze the huge data, and maybe the material scientist who will finally design the product. So if you want highly innovative projects and high impact things, you need to read broadly. And you can get idea from anywhere, maybe some BBC Science or some other thing. Because I read somewhere the pigeons, they have the excellent memory. Now, my question is that we need to know that how their memory works, so that is it possible to design some such machines, or we can have a certain expertise or certain memory for humans? Is it possible? This is my question, and this question I got this question from BBC Science. So this is also important. You need to discuss your research with different other friends of other fields, and they will give you very good ideas. And similarly, with this mutual conversation, you may have some other team to have some interdisciplinary idea which can work for your future. A PhD is just the start of your career as a scientist. So don't limit it to in a narrow window. So by the end of my presentation, the final thing is self-learning. Being a PhD student, you need to learn a lot, and I have put certain resources for you, and I have given the web links, and you will find really, really interesting courses. This is sidetrack learning, because by doing PhD, you are doctor. But what next? What you will do after your PhD is also part of your PhD project. And on this Nature Career Guide, you will find a very collection of articles published in Nature, that how to do PhD, how to do it on right time, and what skills, and how to attain or secure those skills. Similarly, in case of science, they have some booklets, some articles about your doing science. Similarly, for FABs, that how to write a research paper, how to make a presentation, and how to face the vivavos, or like a question answer session of your thesis defense, what exactly PhD means. So you need to know everything, and this is self-learning. Like, you can say that these are the like novels for you to learn more about your field, about other field, what is happening in the world in the field of science. In general science, it's not like close to computer science always. It is general science, what is happening in biology, what is happening in chemistry, what is happening in material science, and then what is the fun of having like ultra fast computing and other stuff. Lot of things, resources for your career development, resources for your general skills, and resources for the skills which I mean what exactly a PhD is. I hope that I have made my point before you that how you can go through your PhD, how you can save your time, how you can save your energy, and how ultimately you can finish your PhD at the right time you and your supervisor have decided to do that. Thank you very much. If you have any question, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Prof, for such an enlightening presentation. And we have touched almost 140 students, about than 140 students who were in the seminar. And I hope they have learned a lot in this presentation. Thank you very much for your presentation. Now I will allow the participants that they can unmute their mic and can ask the question regarding the presentation, as well as we have already shared the registration link, attendance link in the chat, so you can do register yourself to receive the recording, the certificate, as well as the slides which were distributed here in the session. So if you have any question, you can ask, but please be concise in the question. We have only 10 minutes to take the question, and then we will end the session.
Hello, good afternoon, Dr. Saif.
Good afternoon.
Sir, how are you?
I'm fine.
Okay, my name is Farouk, and I had just recently joined the UTM for the PhD in Business Management. Okay, but it will be on the research base, like I'll be not attending on site. So, first of all, thank you very much for this very helpful video presentation, and it helped me a lot to understand